that yesterday may not paralyze today. This is a very deep quote. You need to go and sit on it and think, you know, whatever decisions we're making, you have to understand that it might paralyze our tomorrow. We'll see you guys live at 8 p.m. tomorrow as we bring another great conversation to your screen. Enjoy.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize. What
On the breakfast this morning, an estimated 151,000 people will be diagnosed with the highly preventable disease called colon. We talk extensively of colon cancer, signs and symptoms, and treatment with a medical practitioner.
We take a look at the ruling of the Federal High Court in Abuja by Justice Taiwo, sacking 20 lawmakers for defecting from the PDP to the APC in Cross River State.
And don't forget, we'll also be looking through today's national dailies, analyzing the biggest stories of the day. Very good morning to you. Welcome to the breakfast on Plus TV Africa. It's a beautiful, beautiful Tuesday morning, reaching you live from our studios in Victoria Island, Lagos. I am Kofi Bartels.
And I am Mercy Boko. It's good to be back on your screen this beautiful Tuesday morning. The university in Obafemi Awolowo, you can see that, and some people are saying that you have a traditionalist, and you also have, because I mean, looking at, if you could probably, I'm sure if we were able to put up the audio, you would hear some of the chanting that's still going on. Traditionalists and indigents at the campus of the Obafemi Awolowo University over the non-appointment of their townsman as Vice Chancellor. So that's been getting a lot of people reacting, and it's been getting a lot of persons, you know, talking about it. But if you look at the situation, the truth is the Vice Chancellor that's been appointed is from Osun State, and that's it. And you also have the fact that the university is also in Osun State. There's a lot, you know, to this particular issue. But Kofi, what are your thoughts on this one as we progress?
Yes, indeed. These are Ife indigents, and the Obafemi Awolowo University is located in Ile-Ife. It was a bit bizarre because you could see indigents of the host community of the university clad in their traditional attire of white. When you hear the name Ife, you know, of course, they have a very revered, could I say, deity, you know, and so it was a bit bizarre and strange to see them coming out in white, you know, but of course the issue should be the subject of focus. And this clamor for having an indigent as Vice Chancellor is not on loan to Nigerian universities. I mean, I've seen some people, you know, comment online to say, you know what, isn't OAU a federal university again. But we know that around the country, federal universities have traditionally appointed at least indigents of the state as vice chancellor, and that's been the practice all along. I mean, I've taken a cursory look at the history of the vice chancellors of Obafemi Awolowo University from 1962 to the present. The present or immediate past VC, who wasn't yet handed over, I believe. He was appointed in 2017. But of all the names that have been there, there's only one that I have noticed. It seems he's not even from the Southwest. I'm talking about Cyril Agodi Onwumechili, who was appointed as a VC or Vice Chancellor of OAU in 1979. His tenure elapsed in 1982, where he handed over. So this is where we find ourselves as a country today, that even for a federal institution like a university, which is meant to be the citadel of learning, citadel of everything that should encapsulate or be a utopian society, we're having these interests play out. But of course, this is Nigeria, like Fowles the Badman said.
Well, the issue with, having a vice chancellor in a university is usually not on a platter of gold. I mean, it's not something that has been handpicked and you're being given. So you have candidates contesting. According to a report, you had like 16 candidates or thereabout contesting. And so the selection board actually examined the people who actually submitted their, their credentials for this particular post. They were, whether you were nominated or you submitted your, your credentials. At the end of the day, you had a board who actually examined the, the credentials of this candidate.
Yeah,
interacted
19,
with them,
sorry, not 12,
and scored them according to, the stipulated criteria. At the end of the day, you had 3 highest scoring candidates which were presented to the council, and for further consideration, which is provided by the law. Now the entire exercise, because on the other hand you would want to say maybe this is also an issue of the fact that the people do not understand, and we constantly want to hold to the issue of nepotism, because that has been part of our culture. Whether or not we want to agree, it's very dominant. So the entire exercise at the end of the day that led to the selection of Professor Adebayo Bamire, who is now the vice chancellor, it was not like he was just single-handedly picked. That's number one. The exercise had, the joint selection board, which witnessed the representation of the federal, you also had the representative of the Federal Character Commission, who confirmed that the exercise was fair and transparent and carried out. So becoming a vice chancellor in a university is not an issue of, trunking out, just giving it to whoever should get it. If you even want to even get to that point, there's a criteria. It's based on merit. It's not based on the fact that you're my family member, the fact that you're from my lineage, or the fact that, you're my neighbor or you're my sister. People actually contested, or they had to screen persons for this particular position. At the end of the day, those who probably would have been from there, maybe the next time you have some person saying, okay, let's have 10 people from Ilife, contesting. So out of the 10, somebody must make it, to number one. Or number one, that's what we will say. So if 10 people are coming from there. But it just shows us what is constantly ongoing in our system, and the kind of system that we have. Everything was actually fair. It was based on the laid down standards and rule. But let's even begin to look at the sentiment. If you look at the the founder, Obafemi Awolowo himself. Obafemi Awolowo himself is from the now called Osun State, Ikenne. And if he wanted to go by the sentiment, I'm not sure he probably would have had the idea of having the university where it is right now. Even Ogun State, I beg your pardon. You also want to talk about, what's his name again? Akintola, Ladipo Akintola, if I'm not mistaken as well. The point is we can't continue like this and hope to have a different result. The issue of nepotism and tribalism has been very big on us. And, this is really, really sad to see that. The current VC of the university, because I was thinking when I saw the story, I thought he was from Cross River State or Akwa Ibom State. And then, you look at it, he's still from the Southwest. So what's the fuse, at the end of the day, especially in a system where it's based on merit?
Very interesting, important point you've raised, that the individual who was in charge of the Southwest at the time, when Nigeria was divided on a regional basis, and when that university was founded, it's not even an indigene of Ife, but he situated it there. That's a very important point that we ought to know. I mean, this is not the first time the protest is held, and we hear that they went with some ritual items, you know, and some of these deities, you know, chanting praises to the Ocean River goddess, and this is what scared some people away, saying they're coming in peace, they're not violent and all that. But this is what we have in the country, where, you know, we're very divided. You know, you have to apply for something. You're applying on basis of your state of origin. It's being written on your form, if you fill a form, you know, your state of origin and all that. All Nigerians need to be seen as Nigerians. I think it was Atiku Abubakar who had been shouting and saying that if he becomes president, he would like to abolish this thing called state of origin. And I think all the other candidates should think about it very importantly. I mean, let's get back to Nigeria, where you can come from Cross River State, amen, and be the governor of River State. And applicants were shortlisted, and so it was a rigorous process. Like you said, it wasn't just like the Professor Bamire was just handpicked and they said, you know, take it. No, you know. But I think we began at a point, began to lead ourselves down this path when we began to see appointments of vice chancellors into you know, universities from states where these universities are situated. For instance, I mean, I'm an alumnus of the University of Calabar, like you are, Mercy, and I don't remember the last time that a non-indigen was appointed as as Vice Chancellor of the University of Calabar in my time, and even whilst I've been monitoring. I mean, you go to some states like Cross River State, the current Chief Judge of the state, it was an issue. You know, you go to River State, they've had issues. You go to Lagos State. Well, Lagos State is a bit ahead because they've had appointments of commissioners, especially during Fasha last time, and from other parts of the country as commissioners. So these are things that we need to grow beyond, move beyond. But also, we might not be fair if we also try to not understand the point of the Ife citizens. But we will look at this as
no,
developments.
But you know, when you want to talk about,
but please, they shouldn't be going with the rituals and the
just before we move on. I mean, when you begin to talk
please.
about what's this fair here now, we begin to tilt towards that. I mean, it's just simple. So I have said that if peradventure, it's that they begin to look at, because at the end of the day, this person is also from Osun State. That's what it is, right? So if you want to begin to look at it, then maybe you say, if you really want your own to be represented, it's like having people from different local governments. Currently, you have the vice chancellor from, maybe Boki or thereabouts, who's, chancellor of the university, some part, one local government. Then you begin to push maybe like 10 candidates there. So out of 10, it's under probability. So out of 10, one should make it. To number one, and that's what it should be. Yes. Because there's a criteria for it. It's not handpicked. It's not something that you just have to chunk out. But that's what it is. We hope that we understand that the fact that we're still, one of the major problems that we're faced with as a country is that we're constantly divided. Every day, the question is where you, it's not that are you a Nigerian, it's where are you from? What state are you from? What tribe are you from? And that has constantly divided us, and that has constantly made us have, not having the right people, in the right position. But let's see how things pan out as we move in this democracy. All right,
let's move on to our next trending story. Of course, this one, of course, it's always very sad whenever something like this happens. Chinese passenger airplane with about 132 people on board. It's a Boeing 737 crashing in southern China into the mountains in a place called Guangxi. Guangxi province is in southern China. I've seen the video of the plane crash. The aircraft was diving at an angle of about 35 degrees. And the footage was caught by someone who was in the vicinity who had a car dash cam, and used that dash cam to capture the footage. It's really, really heartbreaking. This is China Eastern Airlines. It's a Boeing 737-800. And it was flying from Kunming to Guangzhou when it plunged down to the earth. Airlines generally have a good safety record. And the last major incident took place 12 years ago. So that's how it's been in China. It's caused shock. We're hearing it's caused shock in China. President Xi Jinping, we're hearing also, has ordered an immediate investigation to determine the cause. And the airline, China Eastern Airlines, has grounded all its Boeing 737-800s. You can see the fire there, and of course the rescue workers at the site. It's really sad. More than 600 emergency responders are said to be at a crash site. Firefighters also reached the scene and they managed to extinguish the blaze in the hills caused.
Very unfortunate, and our prayers will continue to be with those who have lost their lives. But, you know, the Boeing 737 has actually been called out again, and some people are saying, oh, you know, it's actually not very strange. It feels to be very common, you know, with the Boeing. And there are a lot of speculations, a lot of, you know, conspiracy theories that have been put out. But the truth is, we would actually request that we allow investigation to continue. Let the black box be found. As soon as the black box is found, then, you know, it would help the, what's it called again, investigation. It would actually help in identifying what actually went wrong and what really happened, that, you know, you had that plane crash. I would just think that it's quite early. Yes, we understand that there might be antecedent, but it might just be really be too early for us to begin to put out, you know, what could necessarily cause it. Because some people are saying it's actually carelessness on the part of, you know, the Boeing 737, which already have, you know, some kind of history. But fingers across them.
But
really
Boeing has said they've reached out to the American authorities with a view to seeing how they can facilitate an interaction with the Chinese authorities. You know, China would not naturally want to take care of this themselves. You know, but let's see how it goes. And that's much we can take on our top trending segment right here on The Breakfast. When we come back, we have a look and analysis of the headlines on front pages of the national dailies. We call it Off the Press. Please stay with us.
Is it for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria?
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Booking November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on PlusTvAfrica.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Welcome back to The Breakfast on PlusTvAfrica. As always, usually would have Chris Kende Nwandu, who joins the conversation on Off the Press this morning. It's good to have you join us, Chris.
Good morning, Kofi. I hope you had a nice night.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. And I hope you did too.
I did.
Okay, I wouldn't want to talk about what is affecting us all, but maybe the papers might cover it. You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Let's not go there.
All right, then let's take a look at the Punch newspaper this morning. As always, we'll pay attention to the banner caption on the Punch. The banner caption says, Al Makura Adamu Yari orders learn fate as aspirant screening holds today. Governors initiate last-minute move for consensus candidate. APC caucus hasn't endorsed any chairmanship aspirant. That's what Senate is quoted to say. And this is about the APC chairmanship. These are the riders underneath the bold caption. Massive oil theft threatening external reserves revenue, MPC is quoted to say. And talking about bad fuel, marketers submit report on damages, await federal government's compensation. And subsidy, you have the FAAC meets today as NMPC deduction threatens states allocation. We won't allow 242 billion naira deduction from March allocation. That's what Delta is quoted to say, Delta State. And just before we move away from the Punch, you still have interesting headlines. Lagos, Ogun, Rivers lead as state debts hit 6.43 trillion naira in 2021. This is according to DMO. And you have NAFDAC once again for male sexual enhancing drugs ingredients. You still have another thing, you desert or your community as soldiers drafted to maintain peace killed. Very sad. Federal government scraps the PCR test for fully vaccinated travelers and unvaccinated teenagers. Obiano water drinking video, EFCC sanctions official, ex-governor gets bail. These are some of the headlines you find this morning on the Punch newspaper. Again, bandits raid Kaduna, Zamfara, kill 62, abduct 62, and raise 70 houses. This is really, really sad. But that's it on the Punch this morning.
And over to the Daily Independent with these headlines. Rising insecurity. Buhari deploys more police, DSS, and SCDC operatives to Imo. We're reaching out to aggrieved politicians, Uzodinma, and that's the governor of Imo State. A lot happening in Imo State as far as insecurity is concerned. Of course, yesterday the president, it was announced, will be meeting or has summoned some persons, including the governor of Imo State, for a meeting on Wednesday afternoon. More from that paper. Manufacturers Association of Nigeria warns of looming job losses, urges government's intervention in energy crisis. Bandits kill 37, abduct 62 in Zamfara communities. Details on page 6. Court sacks 20 Cross River APC lawmakers. Panic in Nigeria as COVID-19 re-emerges in China, Germany, France. And when will we hear the end of this? 9 years after, Buhari commissions new Lagos Airport terminal today. EFCC grants ex-governor Obiano administrative bail, apprehends official who leaked Obiano's video, referring to that 12-second video clip where he was seen drinking a bottle of water in boxers, shorts, and a t-shirt. More from the Daily Independent. CBN keeps rates, appliance engagement with NNPC over fuel scarcity. And finally, Buhari APC betrayed Nigerians, says Yakasai. Those are the headlines on the front page of the Daily Independent.
Let's quickly look at the leadership newspaper this morning. It says, after 2 months of scarcity, Central Bank of Nigeria words into fuels crisis. It's a bold caption. To fund PMS importation distribution in talks with electricity regulators to improve power supply. No increase in petrol depot price. NNPC is insisting, and long queues persist as scarcity worsens. These are the riders underneath the bold caption. Convention, APC begins screening of aspirants. And you also have court declares show arrest and detention illegal, just as you have Agbajilingo being freed of all terrorism charges. President Muhammadu Buhari's commissioned new Lagos Airport terminal today. That's also another one. 23 killed, several houses burned in fresh Kaduna attack, and court sacks 20 Cross River State lawmakers over defection to the APC. Nigeria, United Kingdom launched device to tackle climate change. Very interesting. And you have 2023, Niger governor directs aides with ambition to resign. These are the headlines on the leadership newspaper this morning.
And we take a final one, headlines from the front page of the Nigerian Tribune with a big headline there. Defection, court sacks 20 Cross River lawmakers and following riders, we are not aware of the judgment sacking us. Speaker is one of those affected. Court strikes out Umahi's motion to stop execution of judgment and issues certificate of return to Agariwe Udogo now. PDP tells INEC. Those two, the name is given to INEC by the PDP in Ebonyi State as governor and deputy governor in place of Umahi. Details of that on page 2 of the Nigerian Tribune. More from the paper. APC convention, protests over consensus candidate for national secretary. No position taken on chairmanship Senate caucus. Governors have resolved differences. Nasarawa governor and screening of aspirants to commence today. The APC Senate caucus had to come out to deny the news making the rounds that they had endorsed a candidate or certain candidates. Details on page 26 and 27 of that paper. More from the Nigerian Tribune. CBN retains MPR, that's the interest rate, at 11.5%. Says Russia, OAU VC, Ife indigents go fetish. Protest block major roads. OAU VC, Ife indigents go fetish. Protest and block major roads. We just looked at that in a trending segment. Imo security crisis, what I told President Uzodimma, what I told the president by Uzodimma. Imo security crisis, what I told the president by Uzodimma. Anambra rulers. Hey, once again, good morning to you, and let's begin with a look at the economy and the fact that the Central Bank of Nigeria, which meets regularly through its Monetary Policy Committee, has for some months now been retaining Nigeria's interest rate, or the monetary policy rate, at 11.5%. And what they're saying now is that the Russia-Ukraine war is posing a risk to the global economy. Are you?
I won't say I'm impressed. Whatever economic formulation by the CPN or the monitoring team or the economic team of the federal walking into any bank and picking up loans by the banks are practically dead. And indices are there. The level of unemployment is on the rise. Most Nigerians can't find a job.